up, y'all? Welcome to The Frequency. I'm your host, Dee Barnes, and thank you for tuning in. Okay, so on The Frequency, this year is the 50th anniversary of hip hop, and I wanted to do something called the Legacy Series, where we celebrate and elevate women of the culture. And I have the perfect guest for you today. This woman is known as the celebrity hip hop photographer. And through her eye, she managed to capture some of the most iconic images. Now, you may not be familiar with her name, but you will know her work, including one image in particular where we have to talk about, where she captured Biggie and Tupac performing together on stage. So please enjoy this conversation right now and welcome my guest, Koi Sojer. Welcome to The Frequency.
Yo, what's up?
So glad you're here. Click, 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 click. I'm so glad you're here. How are you?
Thank you for having me. I am great, blessed, and happy to be here.
Good, man. This is where I wanted to give you like your virtual flowers, because I was familiar with your work, but I wasn't familiar with you. So I want to get right into it, getting your whole history. Like, when did you fall in love with photography? Let's just start there.
All right. Well, I must have been around 5, 6 years old. And back then, Life magazine was probably like 11 by 14 size. And grandma used to always have them in her house. And, I was born during the civil rights movement, so the 60s. So, you would look through the magazines and the pictures were always so big. And, the civil rights movement's photos really touched me. Even as a child, I didn't know what I was really looking at. Then, they had the Vietnam War after that, so then I started realizing who the photographer was, and it was Gordon Parks. And I said, as a child, I said, one day I want to take photos that tell a story, not realizing that was going to be my journey or that was going to be what I do now. So, just as a child, that's when I first knew I could see a picture without a camera. You sometimes be somewhere and be like, dang, if I had a camera, oh, that's a nice shot.
No, not everybody thinks like that. Not everybody thinks like that. So that is definitely
True.
the mind of a photographer. And I have to share with you, Gordon Parks is my favorite. He inspired me also, especially when we get into the movie era, but we'll talk about that.
Right.
So, okay, as a child, you were inspired. When did you get your first camera?
I was stationed in Korea with the United States Army. I was probably about 18, 19 years old. And I bought my first camera. It was a Ricoh 35 millimeter. Had no idea how to use it. I just knew I needed a camera because, I wanted to take photos. I couldn't explain to my family back at home what Korea looked like. The rice paddies, the way they live. So I would always take photos and send home.
So basically, you started first of all, let me back up. Thank you for your service.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. So basically, you started off, that's like photojournalism.
Basically,
right?
I guess so, capturing what I was seeing, not realizing that's what I was doing. I just knew I could see a picture without a camera.
So
I got one.
Till you got one. Okay.
Right.
So how long were you in the service?
9 years.
Nine? Did you say 9?
I served 9 years. Yes.
Wow. Okay. So when you got out, what did you want to do?
Well, my whole goal, even going in, was to play basketball. I was told.
Wait a minute. Okay. So in high school, did you play?
I did, but I didn't get a scholarship, and I kept thinking, after the summer, I said, everybody's going to college, and what am I going to do? I don't want to work at McDonald's, so I actually went and joined the Army so I could play basketball.
So did you play?
That was my goal. I did. That's all I did. Everybody knew me. They knew that's what I always did, was play ball. And when I got out, I was playing with, it was a league that girls would play in, and somebody said to me, hey, listen, New Zealand, what they did back in the days, that's why the Europeans are as good as we are. We became ambassadors of the sport. So we would always go overseas, whether it was Russia, like, Brittany Griner did, or Turkey or Italy or whatever. Our goal was to show these Europeans how to play the sport. And that's why they're as good as we are now. because right, because we were always we all there's a lot of Americans that go to Europe to play. so so I got the opportunity to go play in New Zealand. I played in Spain. Me and Cynthia Cooper played together. Actually, actually, California. I made the California All Stars. Now, the WNBA was trying to start up a league back in the '80s. I made the California All Star team. You know, they sent us our first check, which I still have to this day. And we were supposed to go to North Carolina to take our physicals and everything. And I was excited. I was like, yes, because people told me there'll never be professional women's basketball, and I was gonna prove them wrong. So when I made the California All Stars, I was like, yes, my sister, my mom, my granny, and people who said they weren't gonna be a professional women's basketball team could come see me play. But then we got the call that the whole damn thing went bankrupt. That's why I still have my check to this
Yeah.
day. So I ended up getting an offer to go play in New Zealand, and then I got an offer to go play in Spain. And so I did a 3-year stint of playing overseas until my twin sister called me to come help her with a business she started.
No,
So,
wait. So did you take any pictures while you were over there, New
I
Zealand?
did. Yep.
So you documented
Yep.
the league. You documented
Yeah.
basically from the
Well,
early
I,
stages.
I always documented my journey.
Right.
You know what I mean? Everywhere I went, I would take photos. You know, once again to send home. So
Right.
yeah,
I can
yeah,
relate to that. Now we were talking about
yeah,
earlier about when you were saying how you didn't think that you could be a professional basketball player, and now you see where women's sports is today. What do you think of the
yes.
controversy that happened with Angel Reese and
Well,
Caitlin?
it's just funny. I don't even know why we're really on this, but because I guess I didn't see the whole what Caitlyn did. I just see stuff on Instagram where she was doing that. I
Right.
didn't see
Well,
how the
it was just trash talking. It was just regular
right,
trash
and
talking.
and that's what you do. I mean, I was watching the what was it, the Connecticut game against San Diego, and the
Oh yeah.
white kid on the sideline was going bye.
Right.
That's
Right.
what you
Right.
do. But they're
Yes.
making it a big thing because, for one, maybe it was an all black team seemed like that won.
Mhm.
Then they
Right.
kicked their ass. And maybe because that's one thing I've noticed as being a black woman, even as a photographer here on the line. There's just certain things we can't do because we'll be heard more. So they tend to blackball you because when Caitlyn did it, it was just like whatever. But when Reese did it, it was like, oh shit, ah, it stood out more, and that's all they focused on. So it's just like anytime we do something, we always have to tiptoe, and that's the part that bothers me, even as a photographer here shooting with majority of white people. I always seem to have to tiptoe when you call me bitches, you try to knock me off my ladder. I can't say anything, and even in my head, the spirit is always saying, "Koi, go do what I sent you to do. I'll handle your battles." So I had to keep my mouth shut because remember, they didn't see what happened, but they'll hear what happened. You see what I'm saying? And when they hear it, that means I'm like, yo, bitch, what? So you're cussing and fussing. Now that you're blackballed because now you're the problem. Even though white people, these white photographers cuss and fuss at each other all day, and they're never gonna get blackballed. So you know, um, there's just a fine line with everything. But I commend her for standing her ground because the media does have a way of breaking us down, and that's what they try to do. But this is the wrong generation to mess with.
You got that right.
We might have had to
This is
tiptoe
definitely-
back during the 60s and 70s. We was tiptoeing. We running and kicking ass now. So, and I'm proud
right.
of them.
I'm proud of him too. I gotta give him a shout out too. But you're right. You're absolutely right. Being a black woman in
Yeah.
certain spaces has its obstacles.
Yeah.
And
That's right.
you were saying that as a photographer, you're getting elbowed and knocked down off.
It
shut out
started
of
with
your
the men
space.
when I started shooting hip hop. It started out with the abuse from the men. Then I come
Oh,
to Hollywood and I'm getting it from
right.
the white people, the white
Right.
photographers. But, at the end of the day, the spirit, this is a God-given gift. So I can't let a man, like it did back in the 90s and even now, stop me from doing what he sent me here to do. You know, I call myself the gifted eye because if anybody knows anything about film, you had to pray after you shot maybe 3 or 4 or 5 rolls of film. You prayed that when you went to go pick up your photos from the developer, that they all came out. it's not like
Oh
it's not like
God.
it's not like now you look at your digital camera and you be like, okay, delete. Excuse me, can we do
Yeah.
this again? You know, it's not like
Right.
that. So when I would look at my photos, I'd be like, wow, you would think, people like, yo, how long you been doing photography? Shit, I just started. But I didn't just start. I just started maybe focusing more on what I was shooting. But I have been shooting already because remember, I bought my camera when I was 19 in Korea. So, I've had opportunities and to see my photos and to figure out what it is that I wanted to shoot and how I wanted to capture it, so.
Yes. So listen, let's take a break and we're going to come back
Okay.
with Koi Sojer and talk about more about the gifted eye right here on the frequency.
Hey now.
Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
All right, back right now here on the frequency on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Dee Barnes, and my guest, Koi Sojer, the hip-hop celebrity photographer. We're talking about her whole legacy, and we were just speaking on the gifted eye. Let's talk more about it. Koi, join me.
Hey. The gifted eye is here.
Welcome back. So tell me about that, the gifted eye, because you said it's a gift.
It is, like I said, when I was a kid, I could see a picture without a camera. Then when I finally got one, I was shooting everything. I call myself the gifted eyes because I could be at an event. And like I said, I'm self-taught. So I could be at an event and the spirit seems to guide me. I happen to be, I'm used to, this is 92. I've been shooting already since 89, 90, but nothing this serious when it came to really having to move myself from the back of the room where I'm shooting celebrities to moving myself to the front of the stage. I happen to be standing in the back. This is Tramps. We're at Tramps nightclub in Manhattan. DOS Effects and Crisscross were the performing acts. And Crisscross came on stage and I'm trying to shoot them from behind, everybody's, heads in front and then there's the stage and I'm in the back. And so I'm trying to shoot from the back. So all I'm really getting is a bunch of heads and them. And all of a sudden somebody slapped me on my back. And I'm like, all right, who the hell? I turn around thinking somebody, but nobody was there. So I go back to shooting again and I get that slap again. I was like, okay, who? But nobody was there. And all of a sudden now the music is playing loud. All of a sudden I hear in my head, move forward. I was like, okay, am I bugging here? So I said, okay, you know what? Let me just follow the spirit. Let me see what this voice is telling me to do. Long story short, I started moving forward. The more I moved forward, the less the slap was on my back. When I got to the front of the stage where Crisscross was performing, the slap stopped. I turned around, looked to where I came from, and realized this is where the spirit wants me to be, in front of the stage, not behind. But when I'm shooting performances, I need to be in the front of the stage. And since then, I never looked back. I knew that was my calling right there. And that's what I call it.
See, that's instinct. And you're right. That is a gift to listen to that voice. It takes a long time for people to get there, especially Black women in particular. We have all those battles we were just talking about earlier. It takes us a minute to get to that point where we are in the spirit and listening to our inner voice, right, and having that confidence to do that. So I commend you on that, and I hope inspires, other people to do that. Now you mentioned Crisscross and DOS Effects. Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Wait.
No. Go ahead.
Okay.
No. I done lost it, but go ahead. Crisscross, DOS Effects.
Okay. You mentioned them, and I'm like, all right. And then you mentioned, what was the club?
Tramps Nightclub.
Tramps Nightclub, which is a club I haven't heard in a long time. So
right.
Here we are talking about hip hop. When did you fall in love with hip hop?
Ooh, let's see.
I mean,
we like to party. We used to rewind that cassette tape in the car.
Yes, Biggie Fresh. You get fresh food.
Okay. Now, I'm not going to say my age, but when I joined the military,
you already told us.
Okay, well. Anyway, when I was in the military, I was stationed at Fort Bliss because I fired missiles. That's when they started playing hip hop music, but they played more the dancing hip hop music, not more like what we hear in like the NWAs or whatever. You weren't hearing that at the time,
Right.
It probably wasn't out either. But when you had Curtis Blow, where you could still dance to it, but it was still hip hop. You know what I mean?
Right,
so
yeah.
So that's when I fell in love. Yeah.
So you mentioned also you and your sister had a business, and this is how you got into the music industry, basically. So this is you coming back from being stationed, out of the military.
Playing pro ball, and she gave me a call and asked me to come help her with the business. And
what was the business?
I didn't hesitate.
What was
it was called Ready for Duty Promotion. It was called Ready for Duty Promotions. It was a merchandising business that she started. We did the SWV, the logo you see they use. We created that. We did BBD's World Tour jacket, and it was custom. We did MC Hammer. We did Perspective Records. The list goes on. Motown Records, Uptown Records. We did their jacket. So yeah.
How did you get the business? Like, how were you able to connect with the companies and the artists?
Well, my sister was working for Next Plateau Records, which had Salt and Pepper. And so she was already connected it. So she, once you're in a record label, you start going to all the parties. And she started taking me to the parties, and I was like, dang, look at all these. And I didn't really know who everybody was, mind you, because I came from the Army to pro ball. So I didn't really know who everybody was. But then I started, and so she had connects. Back then, Black music is a lot different than it is now. Back then, you can make a phone call and get to that person, So back then, when they had industry events, like the biggest thing that I think was good for music was the conventions. You had Jack the Rapper, you had BRE Music Convention, you had Impact Music, you had New Music Seminar. So this gave everybody an opportunity, whether you was in the music business, designing business, producing, everybody from all over came together for that whole weekend. That's how Boys the Men got signed, singing in a corner to Mike Bivins. That's how Crisscross got signed, So, and that's how it helped me too as a photographer, because Trench introduced me to Tupac. You know what I mean? So that's where I was able to capture a lot of people, so everybody, we all were kind of like finding ourselves. And these conventions actually helped that, because you were able to go and touch and talk and say something and network, not like it is now, where you got to go through the PR, the security, So, yeah.
So
So people
did you
started
document
coming.
Those events? Because those are.
Yeah, girl.
I know I was at a couple of those. So
yes, I got both. Huh?
Who are some of the artists that you documented?
Well, from Jack the Rappers, I got Eazy-E, I got DJ Yella and MC Ren performing. I got Ecstasy. I got Ecstasy with his twin brother with Crisscross, and me and my twin with them. I even got let's see who else was there. Oh shit, so many people, girl. SWV was there, Russell Simmons was there, Heavy D was there. I mean, the list goes on. I even got Teddy Pendergrass. Let's see, Martin Lawrence was there. I got Dick Gregory. I mean, everybody came to these events. It wasn't just hip hop. I say the hip hop community is not just rappers. The hip hop community is actors, singers, dancers, rappers, spoken spoken word, that was the community,
Right.
because remember, nobody believed in hip hop. Nobody believed in it at all. So that's why, after my twin started Ready for Duty, we lived on 43rd Street and 11th Avenue. And it was a big high-riser called Riverbank West. 45 King lived in there, Heather Hunter. I mean, a lot of the industry people lived in this high-riser. And right across the street from it was a place called the Big City Diner. And at night, they would have parties, and my sister would sit on the balcony because our balcony faced the street, and she would watch people going in and out. So, I guess one day she decided, let me go to the club and go sit in there. And she started taking notes. And next thing you know, she says, Koi, we're gonna start throwing parties. So we had our first party. So we had our first Ready for Duty had this first year anniversary party there. Everybody loved it so much. And that's when I started as a photographer, because I made sure I took photos of everybody that entered the club. And after that, people were calling, yo, you guys need to throw more parties. After that, every Tuesday night and every Tuesday, I would make a collage boards of everybody I shot the week before. And I would put it on the wall. And that went on for 7 years. I would make collage boards of everybody that came to the party. Yeah. And we also had
similar to the one behind you?
Yeah, exactly. This one right here, similar to that one right there. Yeah.
And I wouldn't
shirt. Yes, exactly.
Shirt.
See?
Yeah, I love it. So that would be on the board, and then people would start approaching you. Hey, this is my group. You take a picture. Did they do that?
No, you didn't have to say that. If you came into the Funk Hut, I was already taking photos of you. Mind you, once again, nobody believed in hip hop. But people that came to the Funk Hut and supported it, these were our friends.
Wait, what is the Funk Hut? What is the Funk Hut? Is that the name of the party?
Okay, and so that was the name of the party after Ready for Duty celebration anniversary. Grandma Funk, which I gave her that name, decided, and it's GRAMMA because she had shit to say, decided to start.
Sorry, I love it.
She wanted to throw a funky party, so she called it the Funk Hut. So, we had 2 floors. Everywhere we went, we had 2 floors. Upstairs was the house where you could eat, the dance music. And downstairs was always the hip hop, the reggae, and we had the open mic. So this gave
located?
Big City Diner on 43rd and 11th was our first spot in 91.
Okay.
And then from there, we moved to Club Essos in 95, but we had went to Club Baja, on 72nd. Right. And then the biggest venue was Club Essos on 38th and 11th and 1995. I mean, everybody and their mama came to that club. I mean, Biggie came, Lil C, Big Cat, Goody Mob performed. I even have a video of Busta Rhymes, Dougie Fresh, ODB performing at our birthday party. I mean, and I have mad footage. I just have to get it transferred over because it's all on high 8 tapes. So
wait. Hold on. You get me way too hyped. We need to take a break. I need to get some water. You got my mind blown right now. Hold on, y'all. We'll be back on the frequency right here on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us.
We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us.
Invest in black-owned media.
Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks.
We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible.
Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
Back right here on the frequency with the hip hop celebrity photographer, my sis, Koi Sojer. Koi, you blew my mind. You were talking about footage that you have. Wait. Backtrack, because I want to make sure I heard you right. So you said what now? In 95, you said all these people came through and you have footage?
I have high 8 tapes.
Right, me too.
That I need to have transferred over. Okay.
Yes.
And so I need to get them transferred over, but the one I transferred like maybe 3 of them over, and I just wanted to see. And I was just like, okay, you know what? We're going to get these done again. Yeah.
Yes.
So, I mean, between the negatives and the high 8 tapes, I mean, I got footage. And one thing that was important to me back in 1991 when we started the Funk Hut is that I would be the only photographer. It wouldn't be a bunch of photographers up in there shooting away. I was going to be the only one that would capture our history, and that's how it went.
How did you make sure that? I mean, how did you, enforce that basically? I mean, it was your
everybody
event.
With a camera had to. Yeah. But people, for one, like now everybody got phones and you can buy a camera. It's cheap.
Right.
Back then, to really buy a camera and to buy film and get it developed, you had to have some money. And that's one thing about real hip hop to me. People were struggling, to make their craft happen, for people to see them. People would come to the Funk Hut and were hungry, and grandma used to always cook. So, most of the time we, $5 a plate, but if they couldn't afford it, she'd feed them. You know what I mean? So this was a place where they knew they could come and be loved regardless if you didn't have no money, because, to go to maybe other clubs, you had to pay to get in, then you had to pay for your drink. We had this drink special called the Funk Punch for $3, and it had everything in it. But for $3, you can get nice.
Smooth on the floor.
Right. So not everybody was trying to take photos. Remember, nobody knew nobody was a star then. Not like now, like, oh my God, I gotta take a picture. There's a celebrity. Everybody supported one another. Nobody was, big like that, and even when Puffy and Jermaine Dupri and the Brat and Criss Cross and Biggie and everybody came to the club, nobody was like, oh my God, they're just like, yo, dude, what's up? Because that's how it was. You know what I mean?
Yeah, hip hop is a family. It's a family affair.
Yes, yes,
hip hop
is
truly a family affair. And then the way you're describing it doesn't even sound like it was a club. It was more like house parties. Y'all were like throwing like straight up house parties in a club environment.
Well, it was a club environment, but it was, you know what? We're going to have to talk to some people that went, because, it wasn't like any club that you would go to. It wasn't like any house club. This was like a home for hip hop, but a home like no other. You know what I mean? I can't. All I know, it was a wonderful time, and to this day, people still keep saying, "I miss the Funk Hut." You know what I mean? I miss it too. It was great. I mean, like, we had athletes there. We had Tommy and Andy Hilfiger there. I mean, these are kind of people that were coming out on Tuesday nights. So yeah.
Okay, so one of the stories I know you shared with me, but I want you to share with our audience was, and I mentioned it's this iconic photo you have of Biggie and Tupac. And in the spirit of, the 50th anniversary of hip hop, I love the fact that you captured them together.
Yeah.
We don't have too many images of them together, prior to all of the, unfortunate events that happened. So please walk us through that whole event, that story. Like how they came to the club, what happened.
Yeah, like I was speaking earlier about the conventions, so New Music Seminar was in New York. So, this is a place, it was at the Palladium nightclub.
Yep.
In Union Square. And so it was a bunch of different acts that came on way before Tupac and Biggie. But it wasn't supposed to be Tupac and Biggie. It was supposed to just be Tupac. Sylvia Rhone came out and she introduced him. Coming out next, we got Tupac. And everybody's like, yo! Tupac comes out. The next thing you know, you didn't know who they were at first. You just seen all these dudes just come rushing the stage. Then you realize, I mean, it was, because Biggie and Puff had an entourage, So and you see Sylvia Rowan going, no, back it up, get up. They come running out. The next thing you know, they put on party and bullshit, and we was like, ah, shit. Yo, the next, and like I said, maybe that was the way they was gonna do it to give Biggie an opportunity. Because remember, Biggie didn't come out till '93, so maybe this was his way of being seen by performing with Tupac. I don't know. I don't care. I got photos. Next thing you know, Biggie gets a bottle of champagne, he pops it open, sprays it on the crowd, he drinks the bottle, and then all of a sudden, he falls out on the floor. The music stops. Everybody's like, oh shit, is he all right? Next thing you know, he pops up, party and bullshit.
You can wait to make an entrance, yo.
I was clicking like I was a video camera, okay? That was the best performance I had seen. Oh my God. Even his boy Stretch was on stage. You know, Tupac used to always hang out with Stretch and Puffy and a bunch of other people. It was great. They smoking blunts on stage. You know, it was wonderful.
You managed to capture, that's hip hop history right there. For you to capture that moment.
And where was I? Like the spirit told me, be at the front of the stage. That's where I was.
So how many shots did you get of that? Because I've seen that photo and did not know that the photographer was Koi Sojer. Did not know.
Yeah, I've licensed it a couple of times, for, you know, documentaries about Tupac and Biggie's death or whatever, you know. So,
but not when you first went to try. Wait, go. I'm sorry. Say it again.
Oh, no. You had asked me how many shots did I take, and I said I took a lot.
Yes. So
a lot.
You said a lot. I can't
maybe a whole row, which was 36 exposures. So
right. I mean, I would have
that part.
What I was going to say was, I just lost my thought about you know, documenting this historic event. I know you have more that you.
Well, you know, this is actually the first photo of mine that got published.
That's what I wanted to ask. That's what it was. Right. You think bringing me back because you said you had trouble even when you were trying to shop around. People didn't know. Tell me that. Tell the audience.
Well, you know, back in the days, you know, people would see my photos at the Fun Cut and they'd be like, yo, you should get your photos published. And I was like, published? What is that? You know, being an athlete, I didn't know nothing about that.
Right.
So after the Tupac and Biggie performance, I was like, okay, somebody said, Koi, you should take these to the Source. So I set up a meeting with Chimudo, rest in peace.
Source Magazine, which is one of the big hip hop. I just want to explain to the audience. Source Magazine was one of like the big hip hop magazines, music industry magazines at the time. Go on.
Right. So I set up a meeting with him. I took him my photos. He's looking through them. And I'm thinking, gosh, Lord, please let him pick some because, you know, the coast to coast section paid you $25 a photo. And people don't realize that even though, you know, I'm sitting here and I'm enjoying the history I captured, it cost me a lot of money. You know, for one, I had to get the film. I could shoot 5 to 10 rolls of film a night. Then you had to get it developed. Depending on your exposure, that was a lot of money. 24 exposures was running you like maybe $15. 36 exposures was probably like 25. So imagine that times 5 rolls, 10 rolls of film. So I take the photos to him and she's looking through them. He says, I don't see nothing. I'm like, what? I had to tell him the whole story about Tupac and Biggie on stage and how it happened. Blah, 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 blah. Right. He looked at him again. He was like, all right. I'll take this one and I'll take that one. I was like, oh, thank you. Oh, because I've been to a few magazines like Ride On, Word Up, Black Beat, and they always say to me, oh, we had a photographer there. I was like, okay. All right, how's this going to work? So that was my first publishing was the Tupac and Biggie in the Source magazine. Yeah.
That's dope. Congratulations to that. Did you face a lot of obstacles being a woman photographer in particular, especially in the 90s around men? Because, you know, we've all had our share of stories. I'm sure you're familiar.
Yes, girl, you know.
Well, you're familiar.
Yes.
You know, I talk to on a serious note. Have to, you know, defend themselves in that environment.
Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't easy. It was shooting for me was always fun. These are my friends. These are people that supported us at the Fun Cut, and we supported them at their events. And I didn't realize that, these other male photographers were all the ones that were working for magazines. So, I know now how it works, but, they would always, physically abuse me or push me out of my spot or, verbally abuse me if I was in a spot that they wanted, and I didn't understand that because I'm thinking, I've been shooting all this time and no one has ever pressured me. Now I'm getting pressure. Why? So after a while, I just said, well, let me just keep doing because this is a God's gift. Let me keep going until 1993. Actually, when I met you, Dee, I photographed you with Charles Oakley and Patrick Ewing, and we were at the Bobby Brown concert at Madison Square Garden. Now, mind you, we had did the water bottles for Bobby Brown for his concert, for his tour. So we did the tall, that's when the glasses was like the big gulp, the real tall glasses. And then one side was Bobby and then, Brown. So I'm shooting the concert, back then they had you in the pit, you shoot 3 songs, you come out. No problem. I shoot 3 songs, I come out. All of a sudden I see Bobby picks up the water bottle. I'm thinking, promotions for Ready for Duty. I keep on walking backstage. And mind you, it's dark now. I hear somebody yell, "Give me that fucking camera." And I'm like, because mind you, the concert's going on, people screaming for Bobby, whatever. And I hear it again, "Give me that fucking camera." And all of a sudden, this 300-pound man just jumps up at me. He attacks me trying to take my camera. And me and my sister had just seen the movie Beaches, where Bette Miller he took a photo of Bette Miller. Bette Miller says to him, "Give me your camera." And she took the film out. And my sister had just said to me, before this happened, "What would you do?" I said, "I wouldn't give him my camera." So when he attacked me, the first thing I did was bend over because I had just bought a new lens. Now, mind you, remember, I was only getting $25 a shot from these photos. So this lens was important to me. So, the whole time I'm just thinking, it felt like I was being raped because no one was coming to my aid. And I kept trying to do everything I could to get this man off me until, the Madison Square Garden's security came. But by this time, I had already it affected me really a lot because this was a buildup, and this attack was the crescendo, you know what I mean? So, of course, I tried to, not go after Bobby, but after his security guard. And because Bobby was getting married to Whitney, the lawyers were like, you're just trying to get money. And no, that's not what it was. This man attacked me. So anyway, nobody believed me, basically. So, I said, you know what? Fuck this. I'm tired of this. So I joined the gym and I started pumping iron.
Hold on. Let's take a break. And when we come back from the break, we're going to talk about how you recovered from that.
Okay.
We'll be back on The Frequency.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol, we've seen shootings.
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
Back right here in the frequency with my guest, Koi Sojer, the hip hop celebrity photographer. Koi, you just hit on a serious issue with violence against women. I'm so sorry that happened to you. That really shocked me. I mean, I know photographers usually get roughed up, but you would think being a woman in that space that you would have some type of grace. How I know it affected you. How are you feeling about that when you think back on it?
I feel like, I feel tears coming for a minute, but then I'm like, you know what? The guy who did it, he passed away, but, rest in peace, but whatever.
Right.
I'm just like, was it really that serious? Yeah. I mean, I was so freaking far away from the stage. Hopefully I got the photo of him with the cup.
It wasn't like you had a gun. It wasn't like you had a weapon. It was a camera.
It wasn't like Bobby was naked on stage in front of 1,000 people at the Gardens. I mean, really, was it that serious, my brother? Right. Was it really? For you to attack me and take my camera? What were you going to do?
Did you really
thought I was going to give up? Nah, heck no. But you know what? I have to commend Bobby. Bobby lives here in LA.
Bobby Brown is one of my favorite people. He is one of the realest.
He apologized to me for that. Yeah. Yeah. So I thanked him for that.
He's a real one.
Because remember, at the end of the day, it's not like I was gonna be able to sue Bobby Brown's security. It would have been Bobby Brown, just like with Tupac with the rape, or whatever. Yes. It was always had to be Tupac because the room was under whatever the case. It's not always about
it's always
people.
The celebrity. It's always
celebrity. Right.
It's always so that's why you have that phrase, you got to watch the company you keep.
Right. And that wasn't my intent. But I knew that I was done. I was done being abused as a photographer for trying to do what the spirit was sending me to do. So I was already an athlete. I already served in the military. I knew what I needed to do. I went to the gym, girl. I started pumping that iron so hard. I was like, this be the last. I said, my goal was to be a brick wall. I was going to be a fucking wall. Next time they tried to push or shove me out the way, I wasn't moving.
Right.
And it happened. It was 1990. Now, mind you, I started joining the gym probably the end of 93, somewhere around there. This is 95 now. I was at the Vibe anniversary party. Right. I'm up, they were at the stage, and this photographer came and tried to shove me like that. Girl, I tightened up. Next thing I know, he eased off. In my mind, I'm smiling like, MF, yeah. This ain't happening today. That's over. Them days is over. Y'all ain't pushing me around.
So you bulked up. You were serious. You took this very seriously.
Yo, let me tell you, as an athlete, all you gotta do is say to me, Koi, do this. And as an athlete, girl, I worked out so good. The people in the gym was like, yo, Koi, you need to compete. Because I was in one of those bodybuilder gyms. And my first competition was in 96. And April. Yeah, I did actually 3 shows. So yeah, the first show was the NPC show. The next one was a natural show, and then I did one at the YMCA or something.
Oh, we need to see photos of this.
I got photos because I've been still looking at them like, where is she?
Okay. We gotta see this. We gotta see this.
Oh yeah.
So you competed professionally?
Yes. Well, not professionally. To do professional, you have to do a lot of shows to try to get a professional card. And, I wasn't, for one, going to do the steroids. That was the NPC shows. And, by this time in 97, I competed in 96. 97, my twin was like, Koi, we're moving to London. I was like, okay.
Oh, my gosh. So
I moved to London.
You did go to London?
Yeah. I worked for a magazine as their photographer and photo editor. So
was it a big magazine? What magazine was it over there?
It was called Pride. Pride magazine was equivalent to our Essence magazine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I did that for about a year, and that was so cool because we would go to clubs, and Missy Elliott, Coolio was in the club. Who else was in the club? Wyclef, and it probably changed now, but back then it was like, we got Missy Elliott in the club. Nobody moved. Me and my sister was like, where?
Right.
No, because the British were so like, we're not going to, like I said, back then in the 90s, 97, But now they probably go running like we did, you know. So
Yes, they
Angie
have
Stone was
to.
in the club,
Oh,
you know. So
wow.
we saw Busta Rhymes, you know. They had a EPMD, Boyz II Men, you know. I even got to talk to Janet Jackson again in London. It was just that
Right, right.
easy, you know.
Wow.
Whereas, you know,
What
whereas
about
now, you know,
London hip hop? Was there a scene there yet, or not really?
there was, but you know, London is a European type thing. They're more
Right.
into the dance music, you know, the drum and bass and all that, you
Mhm.
know, which was cool because they were still putting hip hop to drum and bass, you know, and you'd be in
Right.
the club like, oh, okay, this kind of cool, you know. So it
Mhm.
was cool, but you know, it just wasn't home, you know. I mean, we saw Mary
Right.
J. Blige perform there, you know, we got to hang out with her a little bit backstage, and you know, so a lot of artists came, you know, and like I would take photos of them for the magazine, like Joe
Right, right.
KRS-One. KRS-One was in London. I got 2 photos of him. You know, Chuck D was there. You know, so
And
it was
see,
cool.
this is why you are the hip hop celebrity photographer. And I'm so glad that we had this conversation. I'm going to give you your virtual flowers.
Thank you.
Because thank you for even
Yeah.
documenting that. I mean, it's just the
Yeah.
fact that, you know, and I take special pride in the fact that a woman documented some of, you know, the most iconic images.
Right.
We're on hip hop. We're talking about the 50th anniversary. What do you think
Right.
about that? Like, women are left out. A lot of women are left out of the conversation when it comes to the culture in hip hop. We know, you know, some women are elevated and others are in the shadows. You know what I mean? What do you think about that? Especially Black women photographers. Like, I can't name any, and I feel ashamed to say that out loud. You know what I mean?
Right.
Many Black women hip hop photographers. I
Well,
know a
I
lot of
know
men.
there were. Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. I know that there were 2 young ladies that came up after me, Delphine and Stella. I know Delphine I think, was in a part of this conscious unconscious. But, you know, it's funny because I contacted them. Someone was like, oh, you know, even Delphine said, Koi, I told her she should contact you since you have so many photos. And I was like, okay, cool. I'm waiting. So she didn't contact me. I ended up contacting them. And the first thing she said to me was like, I'm sorry, we don't have any wall space. I'm thinking, wait a minute, you're doing 50 years, 5 generations. I mean, with 50, it's 50-year anniversary. You're doing 5 generations of hip hop, of photography of hip hop, and 50 photographers. And I'm like, how am I not included? And you know, I was mad at first, and then I was just hurt, you know, because I don't see any Black women being represented, even though I know I mentioned us 2, you know, all 3 of us. I'm sure there's other women, you know, maybe somewhere else, Atlanta, LA, I don't know. Because no one is, you know what it is? And I'm not taking away from any photographers that have done studio work. You know, not all of us could afford a studio, let alone all the equipment that came along with it and a staff. So I get it. I commend you guys for that because I always want to do that. But
the
at the
streets is
same
where it's
time,
at, though. The streets is where it's at.
let me tell you, you know, it's a different thing when you're on ground and you're actually with these hip hop artists before they get signed. See, in order to get a studio shoot, you had to be signed. Somebody had to pay for that shoot. But what I was doing, and what Stella and Delphine were doing, we were actually there with you when you were still in the same clothes you were in the night before. When you were jumping turnstiles to get to the open mic so you could perform for some A&Rs, because that's what we used to have at our club, were A&R, so you could get signed. You know, Black Sheep's first performance was at our club. You know, we had Diggable Planets, you know. So at the end of the day, people were hungry to get seen and to be heard. And they did whatever they had to do. We were rubbing elbows with these artists. You know what I mean? Not just, and I didn't just pick, okay, I'm just going to choose this one because he's more important than all the rest in the room. My thing was, I smoke a blunt with you and then keep it moving. Smoke a blunt with you, click, 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 keep it moving. Because, and people to this day think I'm a paparazzi photographer because I move. I'd be like, no, Black music had money back in the days. The industry parties were major. It could be over 100 celebrities in one spot. And they may not have been celebrities to you, but they were to me. You know what I mean? So I had to make sure I got through the room and got everybody. So that's what's missing. That's what's missing, I think, in a lot of these exhibits. We aren't seeing that rawness of hip hop. We're seeing the
polished studio.
Yeah, we're seeing the pretty side of hip hop. We're not seeing the
IG. I call it the IG photos. The IG photos.
Yeah, the IG. Right. That part.
Yeah, that part. You know what I mean? Where it's played up. What are your plans with your photos? Like, what are your plans with your photos? What do you want to do with them?
Well, right now, I've been trying to work on a book. I've just been finding it really hard on which photos to use, which subject, because that's how many photos. I have been scanning images, negatives and slides for about the last 5 years, and I'm just up to the year 95. I'm just up to the year 95, mind you. That means that's how many parties I attended back then. You know what I mean? And I've been shooting film up until 2008. So I got a little ways to go still. So I want to do a book. I definitely want to do an exhibit. Not like any exhibit you have ever seen before where it comes to hip hop. You know, my photos take you into the party because that's where I began, was in a party, the Funk Hut, and every other body's party. So that's what I want to show, the fun side of hip hop, where people collaborated. You know, I got a photo of Snoop, Corrupt with Tretch when they first came to New York. You know what I mean? So stuff. Yeah, so I always try to put people together. I mean, I got Outkast with Tretch. Tretch seems to be in all the photos. I love him. He's such a good guy. And he's so handsome. Okay, we love some Tretch.
Yes. I love that.
I always tried to bring people together. You know, even when we did the TLC party, the one before Sexy Crazy Cool, that platinum party, so I got a lot of artists there, you know what I mean?
Amazing.
So,
you need a documentary. You need a documentary.
Yo, okay, let me just put this out there. Excuse me, anybody listening? If you want to go on a ride, if you really want to go on a hip hop ride, give your sister Koi Sojer a call. Trust me, I am sitting on all your baby photos. If you want to really go on a hip hop ride with this and not just, throw some photos on the wall and call it an exhibit, call me. 323. No.
But there we have it, yo. Thank you so much, Koi, for spending your time with us. Thank you for sharing your story. I think, what you've done is amazing. Your work is incredible. Now that I can put the face and the name together with your work, I hope to elevate you even more. I'm going to spread the word. You definitely need a documentary. You definitely should be out there. And thank you for loving what you do and loving the culture and elevating it and capturing it through the lens. It's amazing.
Right.
Thank you. Thank you for your gift.
You're welcome.
Wait, I want to shout out.
I want to thank. Oh, go ahead.
What's your sister's name? Your twin?
Grandma Funk.
Grandma Funk. Gotta shout out Grandma Funk for everything.
I see you, baby. Okay, that's her song.
Thank you, man. Okay. Thank you for what you've done and everything that you've documented. And I can't wait to, explore and see your stuff in an exhibit setting. You deserve it. You deserve all of that. All of that.
Well, I want to thank you, Dee, I want to thank Poet Ronnie for hooking us up.
Yes. Shout out to Poet Ronnie.
That part. And I just want to say thank you for wanting to even hear my story. I've been around for years, seemed like, but no one has ever. This is the first story chance I've ever had to tell my story. You know what I mean? So I thank you for allowing me to do that. You know what I mean? So yeah.
I appreciate you so much.
Welcome. You're welcome.
All right, you guys.
It's all good, girl.
It's all good.
Part 2.
It's all good. Part 2. We gotta have a part 2. We gotta bring you back because you got stories.
I do, girl. I do.
It's story time up in here. It's story time. Shout out, Lucy.
Okay. All right,
hold on. Let me close up this show right here. Peace.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network, focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Oh my God, I hope you guys enjoyed that as much as I did. You know, loving hip hop culture is something that's like instinctive. You gotta really love it to want to, take a camera and document it. I mean, I've done it as an amateur, but I hope that you got to know Koi Sojer, and you're definitely going to get to know her work. And I think it's very important to elevate, women in the culture, especially since we're celebrating the 50th anniversary of hip hop. And I hope that more women can be elevated to that level where we can see their work and see them and show them love and give them their virtual flowers. So I'm glad you took this journey with me today, right here on The Frequency on the Black Star Network. I will catch you next time. And thank you for tuning in. Dee Barnes and I'm out.